The rain fell like a curse over Lagos that night, thick, relentless, unforgiving. Traffic crawled across the third mainland bridge, headlights stretching endlessly like a wounded serpent. Beneath the glow of streetlights, Inspector Kunle Adebayo sat in his unmarked Peugeot, fingers gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the call came in. "Inspector, there's been a shooting. Victoria Island. High profile." Kunle exhaled slowly. High profile never meant simple. By the time he arrived at the luxury apartment complex overlooking the lagoon, the place was sealed. Police tape fluttered in the rain. Inside penthouse 9B lay the body of Emeka Okori, a 38-year-old real estate mogul, one bullet clean through the chest. No sign of forced entry, no weapon, no witnesses. Just a glass of half-finished red wine on the table and a faint scent of expensive cologne hanging in the air. Kunle knew immediately this was personal. Emeka Okorie was known in Lagos as a man who rose too fast. From a street hustler in Ajegunle to a billionaire developer in less than 10 years, his story smelled of blood and secrets. Whispers followed his name: money laundering, land grabbing, political blackmail, contract killings. Yet on paper, he was clean. Kunle visited Emeka's office the next morning, marble floors, glass walls, power reeking from every corner. His assistant, Ifeoma Nwoye, barely held herself together. "He was scared lately," she confessed, eyes red. "He said someone from his past had returned." "Did he mention a name?" Kunle asked. She hesitated. "Tunde Balogun." Kunle froze. Tunde Balogun had been declared dead 7 years earlier. Tunde Balogun and Emeka Okorie once ran the streets together, armed robberies, kidnappings, drug deals. But when the police closed in years ago, Emeka cut a deal. Tunde took the fall. Emeka walked free. 2 weeks into his prison sentence, Tunde was reported killed during a prison riot. His body was never found, or so everyone believed. Kunle dug deeper. Prison records were altered, death certificates forged. Someone with serious influence had erased Tunde Balogun from existence. A witness from Kirikiri prison finally spoke under protection. "Tunde didn't die," the man whispered. "He was sold, taken out quietly. Emeka paid for it." Sold to traffickers, tortured, left for dead. But he survived. Another name kept appearing in the investigation: Zainab Musa, Emeka's former lover. Zainab was once a law student. Emeka used her as a money mule, then framed her when one deal went wrong. She spent 3 years in prison while Emeka expanded his empire. Kunle tracked her down in Ibadan. She lived modestly, selling secondhand clothes. "I didn't kill him," she said calmly when confronted. "But I prayed every day that he would die." Her phone records showed multiple calls with an unknown number traced to an offshore network. Kunle felt the pieces moving, but not yet aligning. Kunle leaked false information to the media that Emeka had left behind a hidden ledger detailing every crime and accomplice. 2 nights later, someone took the bait. A man broke into Emeka's apartment, masked, armed, precise. But Kunle was waiting. When the intruder removed his mask, Kunle felt a chill. Tunde Balogun, scarred, hardened, alive. "You should have stayed dead," Kunle said. Tunde laughed bitterly. "Dead is what I was, for 7 years." At the interrogation room, Tunde spoke without hesitation. "I didn't plan to kill him," he said. "I wanted him to beg, to remember what he did." But when Emeka saw him alive, panic took over. He reached for a gun. I was faster. Tunde admitted Zainab helped him track Emeka, not to kill, but to expose him. Yet revenge had a mind of its own. Tunde was charged with murder. Zainab was released for lack of evidence. Emeka's empire collapsed when the hidden ledger was found. Bribes, politicians, judges, police officers exposed. The system shook. One night, Kunle visited Tunde in prison. "Do you regret it?" Kunle asked. Tunde looked through the bars, eyes empty. "I regret trusting the wrong man." Epilogue: Blood never washes away. Months later, Lagos moved on, as it always did. New billionaires rose, new secrets were buried, but Kunle knew one truth remained. In a city built on silence and betrayal, crime never truly dies. It only changes faces. The courtroom was silent when the judge delivered the verdict. Tunde Balogun, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of Emeka Okorie. No gasp, no tears, just the heavy sound of finality. Tunde stood still, hands cuffed, eyes calm. For a man who had survived betrayal, torture, and 7 years of living like a ghost, prison felt familiar, almost honest. At least now the world knew he existed. Inspector Kunle Adebayo watched from the back of the courtroom. He had chased justice his entire career, yet today it tasted bitter. Justice had spoken, but had it truly healed anything? Outside the prison walls, Emeka Okorie's name became poison. Banks froze accounts. Properties were seized. Politicians denied knowing him. The hidden ledger, filled with bribes, land fraud, and secret murders, spread like wildfire. Some powerful men fled the country. Others mysteriously fell ill. A few were arrested, though Kunle knew many would escape through familiar back doors. Lagos pretended to be shocked, but Kunle knew better. The city had always known. It had simply chosen silence. For Zainab Musa, freedom felt strange. She walked out of the courtroom, a free woman, but the weight of the past still clung to her like smoke. Prison had taken her youth. Betrayal had taken her trust. Revenge had taken her peace. She returned to Ibadan, not to hide, but to rebuild. Zainab enrolled back into law school, older, wiser, and stronger. At night, she studied by candlelight, whispering to herself, I will fight the system that almost destroyed me. Sometimes guilt visited her, thoughts of Tunde sitting behind bars because the truth came too late, but she reminded herself, justice delayed was not justice denied. It was stolen. Kunle Adebayo requested a transfer 2 months later. The case had changed him. He no longer believed crime was just about criminals. It was about power, silence, and who society chooses to protect. On his last day at the station, he visited Tunde in prison. You exposed monsters, Kunle said quietly. Even if the law couldn't save you. Tunde smiled faintly. Then my suffering wasn't wasted? As Kunle walked away, he realized something painful. Sometimes the truth comes at a cost only the broken are forced to pay. The third mainland bridge remained busy, horns blaring, lives rushing forward. New rich men rose, new secrets formed, new deals were whispered in dark rooms. Yet something had changed. People spoke a little louder. Victims feared a little less, and the powerful looked over their shoulders more often. The blood on the third mainland had not been forgotten. Years later, Zainab Musa stood in a courtroom, not as an accused, but as a human rights lawyer. Her first case? A young man betrayed by friends, used by the powerful, discarded by the system. As she spoke, her voice steady and fierce, Kunle, now retired, watched from the gallery. Hope, he realized, did not come loudly. It came quietly, through survivors who refused to stay silent. Final moral lesson. Justice may punish the crime, but only truth can heal the wound. And redemption, though never clean, is always possible.